Hello, I'm continuing my reviews on the Phantasm series with Phantasm III, Lord of the Dead. Now, Phantasm III is, of course, the third film in the Phantasm series. Now, Phantasm III, Lord of the Dead is written and directed by Don Coscarelli, who also wrote and directed the first two movies. Now, this film is actually quite a bit different from the first two movies because this one is actually a horror comedy. Now, to be fair, there was a lot of humor in Phantasm II, and to a certain extent even in the first one, but definitely not to the extent that is in this one. Like, this one I would definitely call a full-fledged horror comedy. Now, the plot of Phantasm III is it picks up where Phantasm II left off. Now, at the end of Phantasm II, Mike, Reggie, and Liz thought that they destroyed the Tall Man, but at the very end of that movie, now, I am going to be giving away a few spoilers of what happened at the end of the second film, but at the end of that movie, you saw that this girl named Alchemy, who was helping them out, was actually a minion of the Tall Man's, and at the very end of that movie, the Tall Man came back. So this film, it picks up literally right where that film left off, and right in the beginning of the film, you see that the character of Liz ends up getting killed. And that's the one thing I don't like about this movie is, once the character of Liz is killed in this movie, there's really no mention of her at all throughout the rest of the film. And that's the one thing I don't like about the film, because you got to know that character so much in the second film, and once she gets killed off in this, it's like there's no mention of her at all throughout the rest of the film. So in the beginning of this movie, Mike and Reggie actually see Jody. Now, Jody is of course Mike's older brother, and at the end of the first film, Jody was thought to be dead, but in this film you see that Jody is still alive, but the thing is, Jody is not a human anymore. It turns out that Jody has been transformed by the Tall Man into an entity that can actually transform into one of those flying spheres, and it turns out that Jody is trying to help Mike and Reggie, but it turns out that the Tall Man is able to take control of Jody as well. So, long story short, the Tall Man ends up kidnapping Mike and taking him away, so now Reggie's trying to find Mike, and as Reggie is trying to find Mike, he meets this little boy named Tim, who, as it turns out, the Tall Man actually killed Tim's family, so now Reggie and Tim team up, and they eventually meet this woman named Rocky, who, as it turns out, her entire town was wiped out by the Tall Man, so now Reggie, Rocky, and Tim are on a mission to find Mike and destroy the Tall Man. And in the film, you realize that the Tall Man is actually trying to transform Mike into the same type of creature that he is, and that's the basic plotline of Phantasm III, Lord of the Dead. Now, in this film, Michael Baldwin, who played Mike in the first Phantasm movie, but didn't play him in the second film, he actually comes back to play Mike in this movie, and Bill Thornbury reprises his role as Jody, and of course Reggie Bannister reprises his role as Reggie, and Angus Scrimm, of course, reprises his role as the Tall Man. Now, I love Phantasm III. I think this movie is a lot of fun. Now, I definitely don't like it as much as the first one, but I think I might like it a little bit better than Part 2. I still really liked Phantasm Part 2, but I think I might like this one a little bit better. I'm not sure, though. But yeah, I really like Phantasm III. I think this is a really fun horror comedy, and it's definitely a horror comedy. like, there's a lot of humor in this film. Like, in the film, there's the character of Rocky, who is a really likable character, but in the film, it's so clear from, like, almost the moment that Reggie first meets Rocky that he wants to fuck her, pretty much, and throughout the film he's constantly hitting on Rocky, and it's really funny, and actually Reggie and Rocky actually have some really good chemistry with each other throughout the film. Now, in the movie there are these three criminals who, in the film, try to kill Reggie and Tim, but then Tim kills them, but later on in the movie the Tall Man actually brings them back from the dead as zombies. And these three zombies, even though they work for the Tall Man, they actually are very funny characters. And in the movie, there's a scene that is really funny, but also really gross at the same time. There's a scene in the movie where Reggie is sleeping, and somebody or something is giving him a blowjob, and of course he starts to think that maybe it's Rocky giving him a blowjob, and then when he wakes up he finds out it's the female zombie giving him a blowjob. It's hilarious but disgusting at the same time. And there are also a lot of other really funny scenes in the movie. Like, there's a scene in this movie where Reggie is dreaming, and in his dream he's having sex with Rocky, and then Jody is right behind him because Jody, of course, has been turned into an entity similar to what the Tall Man is, so Jody is able to enter Reggie's dream. So Jody's there, and he's watching Reggie, like, have sex with Rocky in the dream, and then Jody's trying to tell Reggie how to save Mike, and he's like, Reg, I kinda sorta need you to get behind me. I mean, get behind what I'm saying. So yeah, Phantasm III is a very funny movie. This one is definitely much more of a comedy than the first two movies were. The first two movies, like, the first movie was pretty much a straight-out horror film. Phantasm II was a horror action film with some dark humor in it, and this one is a full-fledged horror comedy. And one thing that I really do like about this movie is I like how this is really Reggie's movie. Like, Reggie really is kind of the main character of this movie. In the first movie, Reggie was really more of a side character. In the first movie, really focused more on Mike and Jody. The second film, Reggie was more of a main character in the second film, but even the second film focused mostly on Mike and the character of Liz. This one, Reggie really is the main character of this one. So yeah, I highly recommend Phantasm III. I think this is a really fun movie. Once again, my only real problem with this movie is the fact that they killed off the character of Liz in the beginning of the film, and they hardly even mentioned her at all throughout the rest of the film. I actually found that to be somewhat disrespectful to that character, but besides that, though, I still really enjoyed the film, and I definitely recommend it. So yeah, that's my review on Phantasm III, Lord of the Dead, and my next review will be Phantasm IV, Oblivion.